It's Hot Topics.
Hey, we actually had an intro today, which was cool. Like, it was a great job, but I think I don't know. I think people just miss our singing.
You think? Well, this circumvents that, so it's going to be interesting to see. But there's a lot of people, especially those who are watching on your LinkedIn right now, may not know you're singing. We do sing and dance sometimes, so maybe we'll get some feedback. Do we go back to singing and using the song, or do we use the intro? We'll do a poll.
I don't know. So it's Monday and it's Hot Topics, and I'm actually enjoying doing Hot Topics because it's a little different for us. We just talk about what's on our mind instead of just doing some business training. So it's kind of cool. And lots happens in the world, and sometimes people just want to, just pause a minute on how to grow their business and talk about what's going on, what's on their mind. So what's on your mind today, Stacey?
Well, what's on my mind is this. I don't even know where to start. I feel like it's like a borderline of event and kind of a hot topic because I'm getting a ridiculous amount of emails. I'm seeing a ridiculous amount of posts on people comparing what's better, Clubhouse or podcasting. And it's actually starting to drive me crazy. To the point where I feel like I need to go down a little bit of a venting road.
Right. Go ahead.
Because first of all, I'm fascinated. Okay. Back it up even more. I love the audio only platforms.
Yeah.
I love it. Like Clubhouse started it. Obviously podcasting has been around forever. Radio was around forever. Twitter's jumping on board with their new spaces. Yeah. I have not checked that out, but I don't understand why we are comparing apples and oranges. Because it is apples and oranges. It is not the same thing. Clubhouse is not a podcast. Podcast is not live conversations. It is a recorded conversation. You can listen whenever you want. What I don't see out there, and I'll give you a statistic. Where did I see this? Somebody put a poll up. What is better in your opinion, Clubhouse or podcasting? 80% said podcasting, and 15% said Clubhouse, and of course 5% said other.
Yeah.
But what's better between YouTube and live streaming? Yeah. What's better, live streaming on LinkedIn or watching pre-recorded videos? Yeah. What's better, a watch party in a Facebook group or a live stream? You never see those. As I act like a toddler and throw my arms.
Somebody's bad.
Nobody sees that, but we see it on the audio front. And I don't know whether it's people are thinking it's news, so we must compare, but it's not the same thing. Clubhouse is an audio only live chat platform. Love it for different reasons.
Right.
Podcasting is an audio recorded place, just like Netflix. You go and you choose what you want. Yeah. I never hear what's better, Netflix or live streaming or whatever. Just like we're live streaming right now, but we would never say, okay, but you can watch this recorded, and we're not comparing this to YouTube.
No.
So I'm not really understanding. I think they both have their place in our social media world. Absolutely. Yeah. What's your view?
Well, I think Clubhouse is a novelty right now. And, when we first went on Clubhouse, it was like we were blown away. We're excited. And we had it on for 2 days solid, I think, right? We never turned it off because it was interesting. It was different and unique. And it was fun because, you could listen, but you could also interact. And you also knew you didn't have to look good on camera or anything. And, it was just different. It was totally a different vibe. Yeah. So here's the thing. I love podcasts.
Absolutely.
Right? Have one. We have one.
We have one.
Podcast, and you can listen whenever you want, which is very, very cool. But there is something unique and different about Clubhouse because, you just want to jump in on a conversation. You can talk, you can ask questions, you can talk to people that you normally don't talk to. Now that's not going to last, right? As it grows. But I think, you're right. It's a very different platform. And I understand why people would say 80% like podcasts. Well, because nobody on Android has Clubhouse. So that just rules out a ton of people.
Absolutely.
Right? And people aren't really 100% sure of what to do with Clubhouse yet. But it isn't, there's no comparison. But I think in our world, that's how people learn. They compare things, right?
True.
Right. So what's the difference between this and this? It's just like when you're going to buy something. Well, what's the difference between the pricing tables, right? What's the difference if I buy this plan versus this plan? It's kind of like that when everyone thinks audio, they just assume, oh, it's a podcast, or, oh, it's, so they just need to understand it. They both, as you said, they both live in our world. They're both great. I guess my bigger issue, and I'd like to hear your side on that, because my bigger issue is just like podcasts. There's a lot of podcasts that shouldn't be on because they're really dumb and boring, or people just want to see their name in lights kind of thing. And I'm afraid Clubhouse is kind of going down that path too. There's a lot of conversations that don't need to be had.
Well, hang
right?
on. I've got another statistic. Apparently, I'm statistic girl today. I saw this the other day, and it was interesting because there are 2 million podcasts out there. Just going to give a quick statistic because I find this fascinating. 26% of those have one episode.
Right.
That's crazy. So you think, oh my goodness, there's so many podcasts out there, but actually
there isn't.
Only like 36% of them have 10 or more podcasts, or 10 or more episodes.
Right.
That's crazy.
So, and it's the same in Clubhouse. I mean, we've started, right? We're on Clubhouse on Fridays. And the reason we're on Clubhouse is just to reach people that we don't normally talk to. And we like to
have that
try
live interaction. Like I mean, there's so much about Clubhouse. I love the fact that you can, it's like a radio station, right? It's like, what are they talking about right now? Click, and you can also raise your hand, and it's like calling in, showing our age, but calling into the radio and asking them to play a song, or, answering their quiz or their question or something along those lines, which is really cool. I don't know, because it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see the trend of whether that audio only interaction works. Now, I like it because I can have it playing while I'm getting ready in the morning. It's audio only. So it's not like you have to be sitting in front of your computer and walking around with my phone, listening to the conversations and stuff like that. But a friend had pointed out, which isn't something that I noticed, but she did when she jumps into Clubhouse, the challenge that she has is that they're in the middle of a conversation.
Right.
So she jumps into a room halfway through, and she's trying to catch up on what the heck they're talking about.
Yeah.
And then, it takes, sometimes a good amount of time to kind of get caught up. Whereas, and again, going down the comparison route of what that looks like, if you're going to spend your time listening to something on your phone, are you going to choose a podcast, or are you going to hop into a club on Clubhouse? So I don't know if it's going to die.
Different. And it's not recorded, and you can't listen to it later. And so, the one thing about we get all the time, is, oh, I missed it. Can I watch the replay? Right. When we do training or we do whatever, I missed it. And I'm a big believer in, sure, go ahead and watch whatever, go to our YouTube channel and watch the replays. And so that part is one that's a little bit missing for me in Clubhouse. I love, jumping into a conversation and being able to just chat, but I miss the part that you can't go back and listen to. So I don't know.
And it's the same thing with us. I mean, yes, with live streams on video, typically people think, okay, well, we can watch the replay, we can watch it another time. They'll probably post that video somewhere else, so I can always watch it. But Clubhouse is very specific in regards to, they don't do the recording. Right. You can't, it's coming. Apparently I saw somewhere that they're going to start thinking recording private rooms so that you could use it as a podcast recording platform.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting that Twitter is embracing their spaces. I think what's going to either keep the trend going or it will die will be whether Facebook and Instagram get on board with their audio only.
I'm always fascinated by social media because, people always say, oh, Twitter's dying. Twitter's not dying. Twitter's very robust. There's people that only go on Twitter. When you're watching a live event or doing something, where's the first place you check to find updates and stuff? You go to Twitter. So, everything, has its place. So new pieces come in, and there are followers, people that absolutely love it. And that's it. We both love live, right? We like talking live. We don't like rehearsing. We don't like recording in advance. So everyone has their different thing, right?
Absolutely. And Colin's, saying that, think of it more like a networking event concept, because again, you can go and you can interact with people. Absolutely.
Right.
But but then also see the value in the replay. Yeah. But again, in Clubhouse, that's not what they're designed for. It's not what audio, it's an experience. It's to drop in. And that's why they call it drop in audio.
Yeah.
Because you can drop in on a conversation. There's lots of value that's going over there, but it is very different. Think of podcasting as the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And think of Clubhouse as the live stream without the replay. So you either tune in live or you don't, kind of like TV back in the 80s. If you didn't watch if you did not catch that show, you missed it.
Yeah.
Or the radio show. If you weren't there, you missed it. You didn't get that replay. So,
and that's the part that, I think is, needs to be done. And they're good. They're looking at it only because like I said, there's people that drop in that you don't normally hear, right? Great names, people, and they have great information that they, let and you can't see it or listen to it if you weren't there. And that's a shame.
Yeah,
but again, it'll change and morph, and maybe it is what it is. And maybe it's only going to be for people that want to listen to it live, which is cool. Good for you. And I pop in every once in a while. Like I said, we do Fridays at 9. We're just starting. We're trying to figure out what we want to do. It's more like Hot Topics, but on Clubhouse. And we'll just see how it goes.
Exactly. And Colin's saying that he loved the 80s. Absolutely. You had to run to catch something. You had to run to the TV. You had
You're committed.
You had 2 minutes to go grab a snack when the commercial was on. Exactly. You're committed to being somewhere at a specific time and a specific day.
Right. So. And if you're not there, too bad. And so, there was no Twitter to find out how it went.
Yeah, there was no spoiler alerts because everybody else was watching it live as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's interesting. We're not those people that are going, oh, the good old days. We're not, because we love the new days. But it is different and unique. And what we always have to keep in mind is the people that are younger people that are growing up with this is they don't know any different. I read yesterday, I read some, why do we say to people, hang up the phone? Because that was the old days.
Ever get the feeling of being angry and taking the phone and slamming it down.
So it's kind of interesting when we forget what those means, and they understand what we're saying, but they don't really understand. They just think it's a phrase.
Well, exactly. Like, where did that phrase come from? Like, the middle of nowhere. But you're right. I never really thought about the hanging up. You took the phone and you physically put it on the receiver. Exactly. Now you think it's like, press the button.
Yeah. Click off. So, yeah.
Click off. Exactly. That's funny.
So I have a different take on everything this weekend. Always? I am going with that theme.
Oh.
Of being somewhere, and experiencing it live. I did a pay-per-view this week.
Oh, hello.
Which was okay. That's so you can tell I had boys in the house because we were at the Triller Fight Club, and we watched Jake Paul versus Ben Askren, I think his name is, and it was a big pay-per-view, and it was $50 to watch the Triller Fight Club, or I like to call it the Freak Show. So,
sorry, I almost put up my coffee.
So it was fascinating because they wanted to watch, and I was like, okay. First of all, it took forever because I was on Kojigo to figure it out how to get it.
Yeah,
because they don't make things easier on our cable company. Mm-hmm. And so $50. It was from 9 till 1. That's what the schedule was. Now past my bedtime, but I watched. So here's a couple of interesting things before I go into the freak show. There was 1.4 million buys that was recorded yesterday. So that number is going to go up, which means they took in like 70 million, 80 million when the time the numbers go. Yeah. So $50 a piece. And so I understood Triller Fight Club. It's a boxing thing, right? So okay, guys, I'm not a boxing fan, so I don't know anything about any of this stuff.
I like doing the sport. I don't like actually watching the sport.
So it was the reason I call it a freak show because it was insane. Pete Davidson was a host. Like, he's a little odd, to say the least. He was interviewing, for example, Jake Paul. Like, they're interviewing the guys before they're fighting. It was so weird. And he was telling him about, he was saying, so what do you think about those, sexual assault charges against you? Like, the guys, it was so weird. And I think Pete Davidson's weird anyway. But it was crazy long. It was weirdly goofy, this show. There was terrible production errors everywhere. There was tons of music, okay? And the only reason I agreed to watch was because Justin Bieber was going to be on, and I like him.
Really?
Snoop Dogg, which is fun, and a couple of other bands, people that I didn't know. But there was tons more music, I think, than fighting. And there was a slap fight where they slapped each other. Very weird. And
right. Can we just back the truck up a little bit? It was a what now?
A slap fight. They just slapped each other, and then the one guy finally slapped him, and he knocked him over, and he won, I guess. I don't know. It was really weird.
That's so weird.
And lots of references to weed and to, like, with Snoop Dogg, what do you expect, right? And who I love, by the way. And then Oscar De La Hoya, the guy, the boxer, who's big boxer, right? Oscar De La Hoya, who there was a scandal a couple years ago where he was cross-dressing, and he was in fishnets and stuff with his boxing glove. Do you remember those?
Nope.
No. He was the commentator. That's what I mean. It was like a freak show. He was the commentator, and he was so drunk. Like, so drunk. And he's had sobriety issues in the past, from what I've read and stuff, right? So it was like a total freak show, and there was some fights in between. I don't really know.
So I was going to say, somewhere you got what you paid for, I hope.
Well, I guess. So remember, it's $50 and we're waiting for. So Jake Paul is this massive, big YouTuber who fought two, like, nobodies and won. So he thinks he's a big shot. And then this Ben Askren is like a MMC. Is that what they are? Whatever, one of those fighters. He was a big guy, but like, he's like
mixed martial
now,
arts,
and
MMA. MMA
not like
fighter.
he's a dad, what I mean? But anyway, he looks like a dad. So this was the big fight, right? So, and I'm like ready to fall asleep on the couch. Is like, this is such a weird, trashy freak show. I don't even know why I'm watching it. And everyone's wasted on the show.
It's a train wreck. You can't turn your eyes away.
Totally. And so they're like, you want to watch Justin Bieber? Just wait, because when Justin Bieber sings, then after will be the big fight, because that's how it goes. And I'm like, okay. So I watch, and he did a great performance, and I like him. Sorry if you guys don't like him, but I like him. Yeah. And I liked he sang Peaches, his newer song, which is cool. And so then the big fight, right? And Jake Paul comes out, like, this robot's following him. And then the other guy's got a little guy with a sign. Like, it was just so weird and random. And Jake Paul keeps saying, my trainer who passed away a week ago or something said, I'm going to win this and then knock out in a couple of minutes or something. It was just weird. Anyway, so they start fighting, and I don't really know anything about boxing.
That's good. You're finally, after hours of watching weird stuff, finally got to the main event. So that's good.
So I say to the guys, I don't know anything about boxing. How long is this? They're like, well, it could be long, could be, And I said, okay, I'll watch for like a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to go to bed because it's kind of weird for me. So I'm watching, and it's over in like a couple of minutes. Like, Jake Paul wins and knocks him out. Kind of knocks him out. He knocks him out, whatever, and then they called the fight. Even though Ben Askren looked like he was getting up, I don't know anything, but I have a feel, like, to me, it felt so rigged.
Well, wrestling is, because it's an experience, and it is, we all know that now. We didn't back, again, referencing the 80s. We thought it was real. Yeah. But they now know that it's choreographed. Yeah. I don't know about boxing. I don't believe that one is choreographed as a sport. So no, but
this is like a weird, freak show kind of I think it's more entertainment. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody in there can, tell me in the comments, maybe I'm wrong, but this guy, so this Ben Askren guy who is retired, right, and older, he's smiling after as you see him. Like, I don't think when you get knocked out, you're sitting there smiling, but he might be smiling because he got paid $500,000. So,
right. So it doesn't matter if it lasted 2 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever.
Right.
You don't have to go through all. So boxing 3 rounds, you don't have to go through all 3 rounds, I guess. And I don't know. But again, if you think about the pay-per-view concept, you paid $50. They also needed to give you a bigger experience, like Justin Bieber had the other events going on, because apparently the main act doesn't last very long.
No. And so if you look at it like this big party, like it's like, I'm going to see all these bands and these rappers and, Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube and a bunch of guys did this. They're Mount Westmore, I think they called their group or something.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting on that end. And it was like, that part was enjoyable, but like sometimes I was sitting there going $50 and it lasted like 2 minutes. And that's what some people just want. That's all they wanted to watch. Right.
But that's why they have to give you all this extra.
And then wrapping it to where we were talking about is, what's the first thing that everyone checked? Their Twitter feed to see what people were saying. Right. And like, it was like, I love this one that somebody posted, this one that said, I streamed it for free. They got the link, whatever. I streamed it for free and I still feel ripped off. So what was interesting, lesson learned here for me is like, would I watch it again? Sure. Cause you're right. Train wreck, freak show, trash entertainment, whatever you want to call it. You couldn't take your eyes off it because it was so bizarre. And like, you're like, who is like producing this? It was so bad. And there was so many mistakes. And these guys, like what they were saying, they said like Pete Davidson talking about, the guy's charged. He's about to fight. And he's talking about, and then he's talking about to the other guy, to Ben, how much he hates his competitor and how, he's just trash talking him. It was fascinating. I'd never seen anything like it. I don't understand. And I just thought, I don't know anything about the boxing world. I don't know how much these pay-per-views bring in, like these MMC fights and all that stuff. But all I'm thinking is 70, at least minimum. That's what they brought in, $70 million. It's an interesting take on what people are watching, listening to. So, Clubhouse, yes, it's live. Pay-per-view, yeah, this is live. You have to experience in the moment. Everyone got up in the morning and was able to read the results. Not the same as watching this freak show as it's happening, right?
Right. But that's where, again, when you're watching it live, you also have this community of people who are also watching it, where Twitter explodes.
Yeah.
And you can follow the conversation, just like any, sport playoffs, final game, any of that you're watching live. Again, you could see the score in the morning. It's not the same vibe. And when you're even a reality TV show, the final show, watching who got voted off the island or whatever, you're on Twitter because you want to hear what people like. That is almost more entertaining to me.
Yeah.
The comments that people are making while watching this particular show. I like to read the comments more than I like to watch the actual.
Me too. And here's here are my learnings from this. Number one is, it doesn't matter what you put out there, somebody wants it.
Absolutely.
Somebody wants it. So if you think that it's not, nobody will watch. Not true. Somebody will watch regardless of what it is. Number two is, there is that live element is still there, and people enjoy it, and they want that community feel, right? They want to be able to say we're watching together. And number three is, I'm going to give a big shout out to Twitter, because Twitter gets maligned. Twitter doesn't get the respect it deserves, including from me, because Twitter to me is always an afterthought when I'm posting, right? I post Twitter alongside, all my other things, but it's the first damn feed I go to when I want to find something out. So shame on me. I'm going to start actually paying attention and posting specifically to Twitter, because you know what? There's something different and unique about it that nobody else has captured, right? None
And
of
they
the other
have,
social
and they've
media.
stayed very true to what the only thing really that they've changed. They've added a few things, but
Right.
they've expanded the character count from 140 to 240. That's
Right.
really their biggest change over the years, and they've really stayed true to who they were. But what I find very fascinating about Twitter versus the other social media platforms is the other ones we think about posting. And just
Right.
like you said, Twitter's not your first one to post, but it's
No.
the first one where you go to listen.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, is what the draw is to Twitter versus the other ones, because I can't tell you how many times I'm like, are you scrolling through your feed on Facebook? Are you scrolling through your feed on Twitter or on LinkedIn? Are you scrolling through your feed on Instagram? No, they just focus on posting. But you and I'm the same. I don't think about it so much
Yeah.
when I'm posting, but immediately anything that goes on in the world, whether it's on TV, real or not,
Yeah.
I'm over on Twitter because that's my first go-to.
Yeah. And the one thing I'm gonna do a shout out to Jack, my son, who's a big YouTuber. He we were having trouble when somebody scammed a login into Gmail. And he said reach out to the YouTube whatever, the YouTube community on Twitter, and they'll respond immediately. And we were like, really? Because we couldn't get anywhere with Google. And so
And they
we
did.
and YouTube, they answered right away. I think I can't remember what their handle is, but right away they immediately answered, because I somehow think that they have everyone has more respect for Twitter. People that are, it's interesting.
But again, going back to the supports are on Twitter. Even the cable, our cable company, if I tweet to them on, hydro, any utility, any customer service, teachers still use Twitter quite substantially.
Yeah.
And it's very much sports media, same thing on Twitter.
So we need to do a big shout out. Maybe we need to do a proper Twitter master it for you guys. So let's consider that, Stacey. Maybe next week we can do a master it Monday on revisiting Twitter and what you can do to get back on it. I think that would be kind of fun. So anyways, that's my take.
Right, I'm writing it down. Master Monday, Twitter.
Will I pay $50 to watch it again? Yeah, probably, because I have boys in the house. And I will watch it only because who doesn't like a freak show?
Have a good Monday.